Hey Simmers, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a personal milestone of mine in my content creation. This is my very first speed build video. Today, we're building a wedding venue for your Sims in the beautiful world of Tartosa. I chose to build this castle on a very specific lot in Tartosa, despite the thumbnail that the gallery stuck me with. I always try to check the thumbnail on a lot before I start building to see how Simmers will see this on the gallery when they come across it. Even though this was blocked out by this pesky palm tree, I was determined to build on this lot for two reasons: the incredible view on this beach and the bioluminescence at night. For those of you who may not be familiar with bioluminescence, according to the National Ocean Service website, bioluminescence is the production and emission of light by a living organism. Bioluminescent creatures are found throughout marine habitats, from the ocean surface to the deep sea floor. In this case, I believe it's bioluminescence plankton. Regardless, I absolutely love how the Sims team incorporated this into this world. And a side note, I don't mess with the ocean in real life, but I'm glad I get to live it vicariously through The Sims, because I swear, these sea creatures are aliens. Like, they are out of this world. The fact that we have something like this in real life is just, it's wild. It's crazy beautiful, but it is unearthly. So this is technically a residential lot called Baia del Amor. I updated the lot to a wedding venue, of course. It's built only using two packs, My Wedding Stories and Get Together, and this is built on a 40 by 20 lot near that area of Porto Luminoso neighborhood in Tartosa. I lied, it's three packs. It's Get Together, My Wedding Stories, and Castle Estate Kit. Trey and Porter lied to me. The original description for this lot reads, "Tucked snugly along Tartosa's sunset coastline, Baia del Amor offers the best of the area, soft and sandy beaches to share with a lover, plus nighttime bioluminescent shores that are perfect for lighting up a romantic dip, and only a short stroll from Porto Luminoso." So yes, for those of you wondering, your Sims can have a romantic night swim in the beautiful glow of bioluminescence. Given the view on this beach and the bioluminescence at night, I thought this would be the perfect romantic spot for this build to give your Sims the wedding of their dreams. I can't wait for you guys to see this all come together, especially the videos I've included at the end showcasing the whole build. So the Castle Estate Kit has to be one of my favorites now. If you guys haven't tried it, I highly recommend. It's surprisingly versatile, given that it's meant for castles, but I can see myself incorporating it into a lot of different builds. I think they did a really great job, especially with the detail on, these doors here that you see. If you've tried this kit, let me know what you think in the comments, but for me, it's definitely one of my favorites currently. I used to be fairly complacent about the kits when they were released. It's kind of neither here nor there about them, but the more that they come out with, I find myself loving the build kits. The cast kits, not so much, only because I use a lot of CC with my Sims. I barely ever use, in-game cast objects. So yeah, the kits are quickly becoming some of my favorites. Just great ways to get, more content to add to your builds. I love how they're also really affordable. It's like when the expansion packs come out, for example, as much as I love them, it's a lot to drop, and I'm just one of those people that it's like I have to have all of the packs, So I am constantly entering giveaways on Twitter. Twitter is the place to go, or Instagram really, but I prefer Twitter personally. But yeah, I love kits. The only one I'm missing, I'm pretty sure, as far as building is concerned, is the Book Nook kit, and I really need to get that at some point because just the builds I have in mind Like I was saying before with how the Castle Estate kit is one of my favorites, I have a few builds in mind, and the Book Nook kit, ooh, such a tongue twister. I feel like they would just go perfectly with what I have up my sleeve. Now, there are a few objects from this kit that I can definitely see myself using in, you know, more, I don't know, mainstream builds, houses, stuff like that. These windows, for one, these windows are gorgeous, and the different swatches, oh my god, they're so beautiful. And you'll see later on, the way that the light comes through these windows is stunning. It is absolutely stunning. The doors, I can definitely see myself using, not the one with the gate, obviously, but some of the doors, and then also the wallpaper swatch. That is beautiful stone right there. So there are objects in this, even though this is geared specifically for castles. I think that they did a good job where it's versatile in the sense where you can use it for different types of builds. In this build in particular, I really tried to challenge myself to think about how it will look from the inside, you know, for content creators maybe, or for whoever, even just playing, you know, having a wedding in here, how it would look from the inside looking out, how the lighting will look inside the build. I put a lot of thought into the structure of this castle, and how it would look during gameplay and screenshots. And again, we'll see more of that as it continues, as we go on. And I think you guys will like it. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I put a lot of thought into this build and a lot of planning. For the first time, this is my first build video period, my first speed build, my first build video. But I even went as far as just before I started filming, I just did the very basic floor plan layout, because that's the part that I have the hardest time with, to be honest, is just planning out the actual floor plan. So for this build, what I ended up doing was, again, before I started filming, I just went ahead and just got the whole layout first, the whole structure down. So then it helped me a lot with deciding how it's going to look, and it cut down on the, you know, editing, I would think, at least, because I feel like I take a lot of time as I'm building, so there's a lot to cut out, a lot of trial and error. I don't know if that's normal for builders, but this has to be the fastest I've ever built anything. This build took me a combined total of like 6 hours. So there was 6 hours of filming, and probably 40 minutes for just figuring out the layout, like prior to that. So really altogether it's probably like 7 hours. And that's just of the build itself. Usually it takes me a good, like, I don't even know, split up between maybe like a week or two, depending on everything. It can take like a few hours a day. God, I hate math. I don't know, like 20 hours probably. I have no idea. But I do have to say that this is also my first venue for a build. I usually do residentials, and I think that plays a major part in it, because residential lots are going to take a lot longer naturally because they're lived in, or they're going to look lived in usually. So I tend to clutter up my builds enough where at least it makes it homey and cozy, you know? I'm not much of a minimalistic person, so my builds do tend to take a while. But this one was a record. I think I might continue to do that for my future builds, because it really did make me feel a lot more comfortable. If there are any other builders watching, I'm curious to know what's your method for building, like if you're filming it too, you know, because that's really the thing, is just the filming part. It helped me cut down on editing, but I feel like doing it beforehand, even building out this little patio that I just built there. The patio I also did off camera first. well, no, I lied. I went and added to it after, and you guys will see what I do with that in a little bit. But I think I'll start to plan out the structure of everything beforehand going forward, because it really helped me. These, I don't know what these are, these little stone things, but I thought they would be perfect right under the roof. I'm not much of a castle person, but I looked up a lot of inspiration pictures, so I don't know, hopefully you guys like it. Now, while I'm doing the vines and the shrubbery, I guess you could call it, on the outside of the castle, I go ahead and I speed that up a lot here. I didn't want to make it too tedious and mundane for you guys, so let me know what you think, if I should slow it down, speed it up, cut it out. Totally, looking for feedback on this, but I thought for those of you interested, at least, you'd be able to see how I do this here, and it's really just, I decided what looks best for this build in particular was kind of a Mod Podge of these green shrubbery vines and then the actual like flower vines. Kind of mixing those two together made it look, it made it flow and kind of merge together a lot better. I'm totally dropping the ball on my words here, but it looks better to me. It looks like they blend in. There we go, the word blend. It blends in a lot better. And I just size it up and size it down by using Control and the 2 bracket keys. I'll put the keys up here on the screen for you, but it's Control and then the outer bracket or inner bracket. But I use those to like size up and size down, so that way there's varying sizes, because they're not going to, if this were, real life, like they wouldn't all look uniform in size, and they wouldn't look uniform in shape either, but you kind of get around that by just mixing up placement and then the types of shrubbery you're using. I don't know if shrubbery is the right word, but I kind of get a kick out of it, given the build. If you guys know what movie I'm talking about, note it down in the comments. Shrubbery. Honestly, doing this part of the landscaping might be the most time-consuming, tedious thing, but it's so worth it to me, especially for these castle builds. It gives it that romantic feel that I was going for, so I thought it was really important to keep those in there. I went with the rose colored, this kind of like pinkish color, for a very specific reason actually. And it's because this wedding venue was heavily inspired by a song called La Vie en Rose. And so I built this castle while listening to that song along with a playlist inspired by it. La Vie en Rose was originally sung and co-written by Edith Piaf. The song is a love story that depicts the way you feel when you fall in love. So I wanted this build to embody just that. According to FrenchTogether.com, the saying La Vie en Rose is the French equivalent to the expression to see life through rose-colored glasses in English. That is, seeing the world in an idealized, romantic way. And what a more perfect vibe for a wedding venue, right? Right. So that's where the inspiration for this wedding venue came from, especially all of the vines and the roses. I'm going to call them roses. They're not roses, but we're going to pretend they are because they're so pretty. And I do wish that they were roses. Like, the Sims team should come up with some rose vines, if that's even a thing. I don't even know if that's a thing, but it should be. I'm not a green thumb, as you can tell, but I don't know. I think it really added to the romanticism of this build. I don't know. I'm happy with it. So this next part here that's coming up, it definitely has to be one of my favorite parts of the whole build. I pulled some inspiration. This was actually from Pinterest that I found this on. just the view here is gorgeous. Like I told you, I had this in mind when I decided to do a castle build. I specifically wanted a castle on the beach. Decided to then make it a wedding venue because what better place to have a wedding in a castle. So these archways here are going to allow your Sims to see out to the ocean in day or night, you know, sunset, sunrise, no matter what. It's a gorgeous view. So and it'll give them some cover during the rain, I imagine, too. That was also kept in mind while building all of this. You know, I have a few options for everything, indoor, outdoor, for your Sims to have their celebrations, you know. This one in particular it's going to have a dance floor, and this is where your Sims will get together and eat, toast, like all of that, dance. And I used the trellis here. Like, technically it's some cover from the rain, but it wouldn't be in real life really. But you'll see what I end up doing here. I experimented with a few things for the like roofing here, and the only thing that seemed to fit the best, like in my mind at least, was doing like this partial roof with the vines covering the top, and we'll get to the vines in a second. But the main reason I went with this was for how the sun peeks through at the bottom here, as you can see. And when I start covering it with vines, you'll start to see you get a lot of cover, but the sun peeks through just a little bit. I tried it with a glass roof. I don't even know in my mind if I'm like calling that the right thing, glass roof, whatever, you know, for like a greenhouse. I tried it with the glass roof, but just it was too much. It just didn't look right. Especially the patterned ones, like, you know, those really beautiful spinny patterned glass roofs. It would have been gorgeous, but it was way too much. And maybe, I suppose I could have like covered it with vines, even with the glass roof, but I always look back and like, oh, I should have done this, but whatever, next time. For now, I'm really happy with this, how this came out, and I've been meaning to try a sort of, I think this is called a trellis, I don't know. I've seen a lot of builders do this, and I've always wanted to try it myself, so here we are. So, you know, this is using the same method where I'm just sizing down the vines with the control outside or inner outer bracket. I don't know what those keys are called, but you see them on the screen. I use those keys to size them up and down, and then I use the 9 and the 0 keys to lower and raise, you know, to get that just the right height so that they're fitting on top of this trellis here. I'm just gonna call it a trellis. We're going with it, it's too late. Now, moving on to the inside of the castle, you know, starting out right with the stairs here, I feel like I got really lucky with the stairs. This is another thing that was important for me to test, you know, before I started filming, because I have the hardest time with stairs, I swear. I feel like it would be a little bit easier if maybe we had spiral staircases. That would be amazing, because spiral staircases would have been perfect for this build, am I right? But we make do here with just sectioning this staircase, rotating it so it panders off to the side here, and then just adding some walls to kind of close it in and make it not stick out so much. Give it some more beefiness, I guess. Such a weird choice of words, but whatever. Yeah, and I'm trying to get into the habit too of using more columns inside, because I feel like I usually use them on the outside enough, but using them inside, they can really add some more depth to the build, and I think they do in this case here. Now, this room is definitely my favorite. This is the first out of 2 wedding arches, you know, locations where your Sims can get married at this venue. This room in particular, you can't so much see it right now, but the way that the sun comes in through these windows is absolutely stunning. Not me just like removing the walls on the side here. I hate when platforms do that. But easy fix. So I jump in there and just close it back up. But yeah, so the sun comes in through the windows there and it looks stunning. You'll see that later on through the B-roll clips I have at the end for touring the build, the final result. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's just like I would get married here, for real. It is so pretty. I think this has to be my favorite build so far. It has to be my favorite. I feel like that happens every single time I build something new or make a new sim for that matter, but I'm sure many of you can relate who play this game. Like, you're constantly coming up with new favorites. So anyways, this build, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but I did play test it. I had to make a change to the platform here. The platform, I mean, I would prefer for it to be this way, but I had to inch it in closer. But it still looks great. You guys will see it if you choose to download it. But the platform in the final, you know, in the upload to the gallery, it is shorter, it's moved in more. And your Sims get married on the ground level, and that's because when you put the aisle, you know, where they walk down the aisle, they would have been walking into the platform, like at ground level. Their feet would have gone missing, so like it technically worked, but I want you guys to be able to, you know, if you want to take screenshots or if you want to film it, I want it to look good for you, you know? So I did have to change it a little bit post filming, but it still captures the same essence here, you know? I do wish that these candles were functional, because I love adding those candles. They're so pretty. I mean, technically I could have used CC, but then you guys, like half of you, wouldn't be able to download this if you wanted to, so but you know, for objects, they're beautiful. I think they just add to the romanticism, you know? So I think at this rate, it's pretty safe to say that this build may also be one of my favorites, because it consists of my 3 favorite packs so far. We have Get Together, love that pack, My Wedding Stories, and Castle Estate Kit. And I don't know, I think it's because they all have like that romantic vibe to it, you know? I think that has a lot to do with it. The build items are beautiful. Gameplay I can't really speak much on, which is something that should be changing soon. I do have some plans in the work to actually, you guys are some of the first to hear it. I plan on starting a Let's Play series soon that I'm planning out the story big time. Like, I'm outlining the story and everything. I'm putting a lot of thought and love into it, but I think that it's something that a lot of simmers could really be into. So keep an eye out for a more formal announcement, a more detailed announcement on that, because I know it's super vague and it could be like a million things, but yeah, I've always been into building and casts, you know, but I've always envied people who could stick to gameplay. And you know, with me, I get distracted by like shiny things like all the time, so I can't stick to a gameplay story. Like I just can't. So yeah, I think a Let's Play series would be great to commit to a story where I have some actual structure, you know, and I think that'll be the best chance of me being able to get some gameplay in and really enjoy the game. So I can't wait for that. Yeah, this build might have to make an appearance in that series, I'm just saying. But yeah, so this outdoors setting, like I mentioned before, it's a place for your Sims to, you know, get together, pun intended, and just celebrate together. So they have some, you know, an area to dine and chat and hang out. Gonna add a dance floor out here. Post filming, I did add speakers to wherever the dance floors are, so there will definitely be speakers. I didn't add, like, I know Get Together has a DJ booth, but it definitely did not feel right to just add a DJ booth here. But I mean, we do have the piano, right? So you get some live music. Let's you know, compromise. Not me totally just stuttering there, but really, could you imagine a DJ booth just out here? It wouldn't look right. So, you know, live music and you get some speakers. But, and just a heads up, the objects out here, I might have like switched swatches after. They just didn't feel like, I don't know, I try to keep things matchy, but I also want it to be palatable for most Simmers. Like the dance floor, for example, was one thing I kept switching up on the inside dance floor. I can be very indecisive. Side note, I am a Libra, so that may or may not have something to do with it. Those of you who are into horoscopes may have just been like, that explains a lot. Yes, I am a Libra. Pretty stereotypical Libra at that, so take that for what you will. So moving on to the bathroom, I only show me building out one bathroom, and that's just because both are done identically. so I felt it was only necessary instead of just switching and making you guys dizzy, switching back and forth. We just film just one. But yeah, for anybody that does like this sort of situation here where you have like an identical room, I literally did object by object. I just went, you know, just rotated to the other room and just did the same thing, just copied it. But it would have made you guys dizzy, I swear. Like, it was a lot of tossing and turning. This room, I love this room, I'm not gonna lie. The vines that are clipping in, it's not to worry. We're going to add vines on the inside, so it's going to look cohesive. Normally, I'm a real stickler with myself for clipping plants inside homes and lots, whatever. When I'm building, for my builds, it really bugs me when plants are clipping on the inside. So just a little disclaimer there, it will all blend in together. So yeah, the inside here, you can see the second dance floor now, or we might be up to our third. There are 3 dance floors in total, so your Sims can boogie all night long. But yeah, so this has a bar, it has plenty of seating for your Sims to lounge. They can toast in here. There's a lot. They listen to live music, and I do add speakers in here as well, which you can't see right now. Like I said, anywhere there's a dance floor, there will be speakers there, so your Sims can dance. But yeah, I tried to set the lighting as well so that it's, I've noticed that I tend to add tons of bright lighting, but for this build, I wanted it to be definitely, I'm trying to break out of that habit to begin with of making it super bright. But I also, for this build in particular, I wanted it to be more of an ambiance. Those plants look like hearts, by the way. I thought that was really cute. Just the way the shape came together was funny. But yeah, I love the look of this inside here, the ambiance that the lighting gives. These candle lights, the walls, are they sconces? No, they're not sconces, they're candles, I guess. But yeah, they're one of my favorites by far. Like, I find myself using them in almost every build now. Same thing for these towering roses. I find myself using them a lot. In fact, I find myself gravitating towards making more like romantic kind of builds. And I think that plays into a lot of the repeated items that I use, which, by the way, if you have TwistedMexi's Better Build By, that's a mod. If you have that mod, you can favorite these items so that you can easily grab them. I believe you do have to update it every time the mod updates it, but it's really handy. I love TwistedMexi's mods. Now this is the second out of two, the 2 out of 2 wedding arches. This one, as you can see here, I'm sizing it up to make sure that you get a great view of the beach. You know, so when your Sims are right at that altar there, if you're taking pictures, a video, whatever the case, you get a great view right there of the shore, of the trees behind it, and even these flowers leading up to it. Like, I think it all looks really, really good. Like, I only play tested with one Sim walking down the aisle, but I can only imagine, you know, how the whole setup will look. Side note, if you guys use this build, I would absolutely love it if you tagged me in any pictures or videos or whatever, just so I can see your Sims getting married here, because oh my god, that would be so cute. So speaking of TwistedMexi, I'm also using the tool mod here. I know the very bare minimum of the tool mod, but it helps me a lot, especially when using foundation, because when you have a raised foundation on your builds, as you can see here, it's really, you can't get too close with plants. It just snaps to like a different part of the grid. So it can really be difficult trying to get it right in on the foundation. So with TwistedMexi's tool mod, you can just play with it more. You have a lot more leeway to get the look that you're going for. In this case, I'm using his tool mod to raise and lower this shrubbery to fill in these spots and make it look more like its surrounding area. With landscaping, for me, it's super important that I go ahead and try and match the surrounding lot that I build on. So for the terrain tools, for the plants, like I try to use the plants from that world so that it looks cohesive with the lot around it. In this case I have, but it's something that I'm trying to get better at, is I'm trying to specify for you guys which lot I've built on, so that way if you guys prefer putting it on the same exact lot, that you'll know where I put it. So again, this lot is the Baia dell'Amore, and it's near the Porto Luminoso neighborhood in Tortosa, but I'll note that in the description as well for the download. And in here, like we were talking about before, or I was talking about, we're doing the vines on the inside, so it covers up that clipping as well. But it was really important for me to do the vines on the inside too. Again, it just, to me, it really adds to that romanticism, and I don't know, I love it personally. I'm sorry if this is too much for some of you, but I'm just extra, I suppose. You know what would be absolutely perfect though, is if we got some, like, no shade, but some good wisteria, because wisteria would have been beautiful in this build. There have been CC creators, 2 that I know of, that have made some beautiful wisteria before. For those of you who don't know, I'll include a picture here, but wisteria, they're beautiful flowers that like hang down, that kind of like cascade down, and they're so gorgeous. They're like enchanting almost. But yeah, so Sims team, if you're listening, hanging wisteria, you would make me so happy, and a lot of Simmers happy, really. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, the terrain here was probably the most difficult part for me for the build. I really wanted it to match the surrounding world, so I don't know, I did my best. So we're nearing the end of this video. Before I show you guys the B-roll tour of this castle, here are some details about the build and just a few reminders. This build is on a 40 by 20 in Tartosa. It's fully play tested, including, you know, walking down the aisle and everything. This build requires My Wedding Stories, Get Together, and the Castle Estate Kit. La Vie en Rose is available for download on the gallery, and you can find it under Sarah Simmer XO, as you can see here on the screen. I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate your support so much. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below, tell me what you think of the build. If you use this build and you take screenshots or video and you'd like to tag me, please don't hesitate to do so. Don't be shy. I would love to see your Sims living their best lives, getting married in this venue. Lastly, if you haven't subscribed yet, I would so appreciate it if you did. It really helps support the channel. So please subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you turn the notification bell on. I do post build videos. Well, this is my first one, but I'll post more. I post cast videos, and again, I'll be announcing officially a Let's Play series that I'll start to film very soon, so stay tuned for that. Thank you again so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next video.